Hello, this is Eric of Not Bio Studio, and today we're going to be reviewing the ES45 from Godox. And we're going to learn a bit about lighting techniques and how to separate yourself through lighting. And we're going to also go from the Amron F1 only for a light to the Godox and the Amron F1 that you see right now. We're going to learn also a bit about light balancing. We're going to go from this more amateur hour looking scene to something more like this. And we're going to learn quite a bit of different things, including how to use the app, about the wireless control for this device. Yes, a wireless control, and that is something that's really awesome. We can combine different lights into groups, but we're going to learn about that. But first, let's get started. In the box, we're presented with other lighting solution products all throughout. So if you're looking for something else from the same company, you got it here. That was the user manual. We have the light itself with a heatsink all around it. It's actually quite weighty. And we have some controls on the back end. And we also have the power brick with plug in. So that gives us quite a distance to play with. And we also have this desk mount that comes with this, which happens to go quite long. Let's find out how long. That desk extension arm for the light from the top of the desk to the top of the swivel head that attaches the light is 42 inches or 1 meter plus 7 centimeters. This here will stop from sliding around, so once it's tightened on, you can spin this on to get nice and snug. Now this part, I will have to attach while it's snug and tight and then mount what I'm trying to mount. So on the device itself, we have a 1/4 inch thread. So this allows me mounting just as simple as screwing this in. Fairly simple. Now if I want to mount this to my desk, I'm going to tighten this up here. And now I have to loosen up our little clamp. Just get the right way around. What the hell? This clamp that was so tight, this came off. Good job, Godox. Good job. I had to actually pry it off of this rubber. So hopefully nobody else faces this issue. That is not cool. So when it comes to this light, we have a 1/4 inch mount here, a 1/4 inch mount here, and a 1/4 inch mount here. Oh, and yet another one. All 4 sides have a 1/4 inch mount. We also have a detachable remote control. We can see it actually connects in here. So to connect it, we're just gonna slide it on, and to take it off, we just slide it off. Now for input power, this is 14 volts, 3.4 amps. We have an on-off toggle switch right here. Now let's charge her up, because that's how this connects and charges. We actually slide this in to charge it. We can take it out after it's charged. Okay, we see a little battery level indicator here, USB-C charging as well as an option. This is wireless, that's pretty sweet. We connect the back of the light itself. Now I gotta figure out how to turn the power on. There's a little power button on the back. There we go. And we see our percentage and everything else and the color of the light all back here. And right now it's listed at 5600K. That's what I usually like to use. Well, that's a lot of light. Let's go right against my wall and see how I go with some light balancing. That's 1%, okay? So right now we have it off, 1%. This is bouncing against the wall. At 1%, we can already see that difference. 3, 4, let's go all out. 43, 68%, and 88%. Of course, the camera is compensating for all that brightness, so we can see that right now the camera can't compensate. And now the camera looks dark until it actually compensates for the amount of light in the room or lack thereof, because it was that bright. Now everything looked dark, even though it wasn't dark at all. Now that's pretty cool. Now for the color of light, we have our CCT. So I can change myself to different color tones. This looks like a blue light. 6500K is definitely a blue light. 5600K is what I like to use because it's more of a neutral type light. And then of course we can go all the way to yellow spectrum, which happens to be 2800K. A bad case of jaundice here, I think. Disconnected. Let's see if this works wirelessly. I have not a clue. Well, there we go. That is actually pretty cool. That is definitely neat. So we can see the light color change just like that. All wirelessly connected. Lights fully on basically, to lights off. Just like that. So what can I say? Oh, it even has a channel. On the topic of channels, there are 32 channels, 1 to 32. We also have a group setting, and that is A, B, or C group. Max brightness is 2500 lumens, and at 28K to 6500K temperature. So if we look down here, we can control with an application on your Android or iOS phone through Bluetooth. Nice. And if we look down here, we can also see the lux at 0.5 meters distance away is about 4100. The CRI is greater than 96. 100 is a perfect score. TLCI is greater than 97, and 100 is a perfect score. And what these mean is color rendering index, and this is also the television industry standard. So 100 is top. So we got some really good quality here. We also have a quantity of 176 LED beads in this particular unit and a weight of 1.33 kilograms for the panel. So here we have the app Godox Light. So I can install that. New scenes. So now we have project 1. From project 1 we can now add pictures, and now I can add my light. And confirm. Just like that. There we go. And now I have full control. Now if I want to turn on or off. Color rendering. And down here we have our brightness. Just like that. Right now I have the light set up literally 5 feet away from me at an angle, not even facing directly towards me. Check this out. That's 15%. 0%? 1%. Yeah, that's nuts. Okay, let's turn this around, this camera, so we can see where it is. That's what I'm using for my light bouncing. But yeah, right down there. So that is a distance away and an angle from me. So we can control the channels on channel 21, for instance, and we have groupings. What this allows is a studio environment, especially a huge studio. Let's say if I were Gerald Undone, he has multiple lights around his room to give different lighting in different areas, especially since his studio is quite large. He could, for instance, have channel 21. And have several lights tied to that at a certain brightness, but he might want, say, different brightness on another one. How about if you're Linus Media Group? You may have different studios. We can have 3 different studios on different channels, so each studio will have a controller, turn on and power, and there you go. Now this allows for something more of a studio type environment, a prosumer, like a top tier prosumer environment. But where does this lack? Well, let's say after several years, what can happen is lighting can color shift a little bit. That goes with all LED lights. Doesn't matter how accurate it was. In the end, it eventually, as it ages, will start color shifting. So what would be advantageous over this would be one that can change colors individually for green, red, and blue. However, you're looking at 4 or 5 times the price of this guy here if you're looking for something of that scale. In terms of price range for what you get, this is actually unbelievable. It's still actually lit up, so we can see that it does stay lit up for quite a while. And eventually the screen will turn off, but the light will be on. Then I'll have to press the power button, it'll light up again, then I can do my settings. So the one thing I did learn, it's magnetic. I just love that. So if you have a magnetic case on your computer like I do, I can just pin it here, press my button, turn my light on and off. That was just right now at 5%, 5600K, still about just, well, I guess about 4.5 feet away from me right now, 4 feet-ish. Anyways, still a distance from me. Not even facing directly to me. It's actually facing out this, right down this way to me. What we don't want to do is be facing so much ourselves without a proper filter. We can see that looks kind of glittery white. It's not soft. The shadows are very, very harsh. This is where light balance comes very useful. And I decide to use the closet, the actual wall that's white, because that works pretty good on this side. We can see nice even lighting. That's using my Aperture Amron F1 to actually shine off a white wall. And that gives me nice clean light, which gives me nice soft shadows. That's what you want. You don't want harsh shadows. And this way we can diffuse the light nicely. Bit right here, so I could probably have a light bouncing up this way, and that would help a little bit from this corner. Right now my other light is facing up this way, and this is almost perfect. Darker background, give some contrast between the front and the back. And adding some blur in your background is a nice way to actually give some separation of subject. A lot of cameras, when you use the lowest aperture, it might not be as sharp, so you want to experiment with that. Say if you had a 1.4 aperture camera, your 1.8 might be a lot sharper while still maintaining some nice background blur. Try things and then look back at your footage and see what you can do. This is Eric of Not Bio Studio. Thanks again. Take care.